Hey, what's up, guys? Today is August 6th, 2020, and I want to take a couple minutes and, just document a little story about a project that I recently acquired. And before I, really get into the project, I wanted to kind of take a minute and kind of give some context to the project. I'm thinking about making this a little documentary on the build, not so much for my own self, but really because I think it's appropriate in the restoration or build of a car of this caliber to document the process. Not so much for myself, like I said, but really for my kids and also the hot rod community. So I want to take a couple minutes and give you some context and tell you a little story. So first and foremost, this project is about a 35 Ford 3-window coupe that I just recently acquired. And it is all original, and I recently, struck a deal with a friend unexpectedly and got my dream car. So pretty exciting news. So anyway, before I start, I want to give you some back history on this. I'm 38 years old right now. I've been into cars since an early teenager, and before I was 16 years old, I was, diving into vehicles and trying to find my, vehicles of choice. And I got, at a very early age, I got into the mini truck scene, which is, I still have a deep passion for a little. Going back to those days, I still love sports trucks and mini trucks. But I got started in the sport truck, mini truck world, whatever you want to call it, at a very, very, very early age. And of course, I had the S10, first gen S10, as my first truck. But anyway, it's not about that. What I'm trying to say is, at a very, very, very early age, I got into, hot rod scene, or the car scene, the aftermarket world, the customization world. And I guess you could say I was immature at that point in time about the craft and the hobby, and but I was interested. And over the years, the mini trucks and the S10 world built my passion, and that's where I learned the trade. Fast forward in that, after going to tech school, going to Wyoming Tech and living out in Wyoming and really indulging myself in the culture and lifestyle and building cars, my passion grew, and I just fell in love with it. And, decided that it was going to be a career path and something I've always did. So, ever since then, I've really dedicated my life into the custom car world and metal fabrication and engineering, and just learning everything about, custom cars, hot rods, motorsports, whatever you want to call it. After tech school and really, just living that life 24/7, eat, sleep cars, I was introduced into, the traditional hot rods, the grassroots of really what made the culture, the history. I was also in the military after high school. I did 4 years in the Army, and I was in the Air Force. And it really educated me on the American history, but also, how the hot rod scene tied into that from World War II, and all the craftsmen, soldiers, and airmen who built airplanes, and all kinds of mechanics in the military took their craft after World War II and incorporated it into the hot rod scene that we all know, developed in the late 40s after World War II and in the 50s. So that really developed at an early age, in my early 20s. But the point of me telling you this is it really drew my attention to the early Fords and the hot rods that are well known, like the 32 Fords, like the 40 Fords, and of course the 36 Fords, the 3-window coupes, and all of that. And at tech school, when I seen these projects, and I dived into all the hot rod magazines and learned more about them. My passion grew deeply into all the iconic cars, the early Fords, of course. And in my late 20s, and I was, I guess, doing my own thing, trying to find myself. I was into, the music scene, going to concerts. I was heavy into Social Distortion. And Mike Ness, loved his music, still do love his music. And, seeing Mike Ness's 36 3-window that was built by Cole Foster, I fell in love. I really did. I was a supporter of Cole Foster, and when his book originally came out, I read all about him, and that's when the TV shows really started kicking off for the first time, the reality custom car TV shows, and I just dived deep into that culture, and it became who I was all about. Anyway, with the music scene and seeing the 36 coupe, not only Mike Ness's, but what's the guy from Metallica there? Is it Kirk Hammett, I believe it is? His 36 built too. I fell in love with the 35, 36 3-window coupes. And it was like, my dream car. And that's the kind of one I cut out of magazines and had on my computer screensaver, and kind of just fantasize about that, and just dreamt about that. But it really helped me in building my passion for the hot rods and early Ford scene. So I don't know, it's always been in the back of my head. That is my staple car of choice if I had ever had a choice. Never really thought it would be attainable, as the years developed and the prices went up on these cars, and just the accessibility to these cars in itself is hard to come by, let alone having the actual funds and financing to actually afford one if I did come across one. So it was never a reality for years and years. At 30 years old, I was back from tech school in the scene, and starting my business and working on the side and developing myself. Josh, my now brother-in-law, surprised me with a 36 Ford birthday cake. It's kind of comical. I'll have to find a picture of it. But his cousin's a really good cake baker, and she made me a 36 Ford birthday cake, and it was cool. It was killer. It tasted great, and it just highlighted more my passion of that dream car. So that was literally 8 years ago now, because I'm 38. And, a good friend here who I met in the car scene over the years through the F100 truck world, that I'm deeply passionate about as well. Jamie Kucher, we became friends, through car shows and the F100s. He owns one as well. Through that relationship, going to his shop and visiting him and his dad's passions of the cars, and they have a nice shop, and they do great work. They're both great craftsmen, and have a great car collection. He showed us at one time that he had a 35 Ford all original sitting in one of his old garages, just an old dungeon garage collecting dust all by itself, and they've had it in their family, I want to say 15, almost 20 years now at this point. And it was killer, I'm like, holy shit. It was pretty cool to see that car locally, and have a friend who actually had one. And in the back of my mind was that he would never sell it. Obviously, who would sell a 3-window coupe, and it was just a long-term project for him and his dad that they'll eventually get to. So that was years and years ago. And then until recently, about a week ago, my brother-in-law texted me at 10 of 8 in the morning, and he got my attention by saying, "Hey, call me ASAP. I found a 3-window coupe." And whenever you hear those words, you stop what you're doing and you call him, and you figure out what he's talking about. So still at this time, no bells went off in my head. I'm like, oh, what? Maybe he found something that he's going to buy for himself and flip, or one of our friends, in the hot rod community found a cool car and he was going to share the news with me. But I called him and he quickly said, "Hey, you won't believe what happened." I'm like, "What's up?" Jamie called me last night and told me he wants to sell his car, his 35 3-window. I'm like, "Really?" Kind of taken back and just shocked. I was surprised to hear that. And still, no lights or bells, whistles went off in my head, because it just didn't seem attainable or practical. So after the conversation with Josh and him telling me that, he was looking for a price, what he thought it was worth, and, the conversation they had, he kind of ended and said, "Howie." And I'm like, "What's up?" Because you have to buy it. And I was kind of like, "Really?" And instantly, all my thoughts went to Howie. That gut feeling, that sixth sense is like, you got to buy that car. Because, when Jamie showed us that car that day, it was solid. It was 100% solid. I remember him bragging about that in a way of like, yeah, this car is really nice. It has an original grille. It's, it's never really been taken apart. It's a deluxe package. And it's all there. I'm like, holy smoke. So I was kind of jealous of him. I'm like, wow, man, killer. I was super happy that he actually had this car. And when Josh said that, and I was just, backtrack, I'm like, this car is 100% solid. It's all there, including all the garnish moldings and all of that. And it's right down the road. And our good friend Jamie is selling it. And he hasn't told anyone yet. So maybe there is a possibility, So all the emotions start going through you, and you start getting excited, like, oh my God, could this actually work out? Now, I know in the back of my head still is like, man, Jamie can tell so many people in this car will be sold in hours. This is not something you really mess around with or have a lot of time to really think about. So instantly, I'm like, man, how much is he going to want for this car? And he's not stupid. He's in the industry, and he knows everyone online. He sees what's going on. He's gonna want a hefty number. But still, I was like, I gotta figure out how I can attain this. What's the chances of actually having this car 30 minutes away from me and being 100% solid and being a 3-window coupe that I've always dreamt about. And a light bulb went off in my head, and Jamie, like I said, he's always been involved with us in the shop, and he's always been after my Polmax machine. Now, I've had a P5 here for, 4 or 5 years, and Jamie, he was either with me or he went up to where I went and got this Polmax, and he was aware of when I actually acquired this machine. And, him and his dad are nice, unbelievable craftsmen, and they have all kinds of machines in their shop. And Jamie wanted this Polmax. And it was kind of a joke because Jamie always said, hey, let me know when you want to sell that Polmax. And, myself as a craftsman and metal worker, this was the dream machine that I've always wanted. And I got it. So I always said, well, this thing, my response to Jamie was, this thing's going to be going to my grave. And when I do die, it's going to be passed on to my son. Why would I sell his Polmax? And so every couple of years he would kind of like bust my balls and remind me, hey, when are you going to sell me that Polmax? If you ever sell me that Polmax, let me know if you're going to sell it. And it was just kind of a laughing joke. But in the recent 2 years with the new shop here I got going on, I haven't even wired it up, to be honest. Not because I don't want to use it, but because of time. I have 2 little kids, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and time is very important to me, and I still am a career firefighter. And so I don't have a lot of time to really to dive into projects and make custom panels and really, I don't have the power to actually wire it up as of right now because I need a 3-phase and I don't have an inverter set up currently. And I haven't touched it for 3 years. And, a thought went off in my head is, man, I could sell the Polmax to Jamie because he really wanted it. And maybe I can use that as a bargaining chip to sell it to myself. Anything I can do really now is I'm thinking in my head to really acquire this. Not that I wanted to sell it, because really deep down it was like a painful, like, I can't let this go, I can't let this go. But I have to be realistic here. And one of the thoughts that makes it a little disheartening is I know where Jamie lives. I have a great relationship with him and his dad, and I know if I need the machine, I can go over there and use it. And also, work with his dad and, work with him, which is always a good time, and you get to learn new stuff from other guys. It's always something I always look forward to. So I'm like, maybe Jamie and his dad owning this machine's not a bad idea, because there'd be great caretakers, and when I need it, it'll still be available. But I can use that as a bargaining chip to possibly get this car. So I brought the idea up to Josh, and he kind of said, hey, that's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer, because technically I'm losing the machine, but really I'm not, because it'll still be available when I need it. But I could possibly use that for partial payment at least to get into this car, and hopefully give me first dibs on it. So that conversation from Josh and I quickly went to Jamie. I mean, within minutes, I got off the phone. Josh called Jamie and says, Jamie, I don't know the exact words, we'll have to ask him, but hey, Howie's willing to sell the Polmax, in partial payment for the Coupe. And I think that really got Jamie excited, and instantly goes, all right, I'm coming up after work with my dad to take a look at the machine. And so Josh called me back quickly minutes after and says, all right, Jamie's coming tonight to look at the machine. So like, damn, so he must be interested. He must be, excited and interested in doing something. So, him and his dad came up that night and looked over the machine, and, I kind of expressed what I wanted for the machine, or at least, what I thought the value was of the Polmax. The Polmax being original and having all the attachments, had tons of dies and things for it, which is a plus when you're buying them a new machine. And it was great condition. We kind of put a value on that, and he put a value on his car, and he says, yeah, I'll take partial payment of the car for the Polmax. And we shook on it. And now that left me of, holy shit, I got dibs on this Coupe, but how the hell am I going to pay for the rest of this car? It's a good chunk of money still. And, I'm like any other blue-collar person. I don't have a chunk of change sitting in my bank account or my drawer. So I had to make a tough decision here and said, how am I going to get this money? And, my good friends are, of course, pushed me to say, just go to the bank and get a loan. Whatever you got to do, just get a loan. And, I don't really like taking debt out, especially with interest, for a hot rod per se. But, this is something that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I decided I had to do whatever I can do to make this work. So, that led me to the bank, and that was a challenge and defeat. Trying to buy a 35 Ford on a car loan, and you know, it's not that very easy dealing with a bank trying to say I'm going to buy a car that's literally what, 56, wow, 50, 60, 70, 80, 85 years old, and getting a loan. So I had they ran me through the loops. It was paperwork and documentation. Luckily, Jamie had an old title from Canada with the car, and you know, we did a bill of sale and did all this paperwork, and I was able to acquire a loan to pay for the balance of this car. So that got me very happy, because that at that point became a reality that I'm going to be an owner of a 35 Ford 3-window coupe, and it's my dream car, and it's actually happening. So it's crazy, and it seriously still has not sunk in. You know, I'm the kind of guy, you know, I am a big believer in the law of attraction, spiritual, and you know, I've always had a picture of this car on my vision board, I guess you can say, my cork board, and it's you know, 35, 36. I'm not really picky as far as which one I acquired. I love them both for their own features. They're very similar, but like I said, they're very, you know, subtle differences, but I love them both for what they are. And I had a picture on my corkboard for years of that's the car. That's my vision. That's what I want, the way it's, you know, just built and laid out and everything else. And, you know, after this conversation and actually knowing that I'm going to be buying this car, I went down to my basement and looked at the corkboard, and it is a 35 Ford 3-window coupe. So it's crazy how, you know, it's been on my vision board for years, and it's actually a 35, and I actually now have a 35 Ford coupe in my barn here. So that's just the power of, you know, attraction right there. It really does work, and that's not the first thing I've actually done it on. So crazy, believe it or not. So anyway, enough of me talking and giving you guys some history on the backstory, but I really think this was important, because moving forward, I want to, you know, video some more details of the car and me getting into the build, the style, and eventually getting on the road and just kind of capture the history of this car for years to come, as this car is going to definitely be staying in the family and being passed on to my kids. And I think it's very important to document this process, because you know, it's really priceless looking down the road. And you know, I think about all the cool cars that were built back in the day, and just imagine if the owners can actually do something like this with a video and talk about their story of how they acquired it and what it meant to them, and the passion behind it, and why they did things on that car. It kind of builds a legacy for that car. And you know, kind of that's my intention here. You know, this car is original, and it deserves to be documented and for the years to come, and kind of create a name for itself. So yeah, you know, if you guys could follow along, you know, subscribe to the channel, leave some comments below, see what you think, and you know, hopefully you guys will enjoy the build process as I post videos over time. It's not going to be a crazy build that I jump into right away. Obviously, I got to pay back the loan, and there's some, you know, things I got to do. A lot of studying up on the year, make, and model, and the subtle differences, and what I want to do. I got to study the design and some of the things I want to change to it, and where I'm going to go with this. But I'll include that in some videos as we move forward, and have some build meetings with my buddies. And yeah, just, you know, have fun building a badass hot rod here for years to come, guys. So enough of me talking. Let me give you a quick tour before I start messing with it. All right, so here she is. This is exactly how I got it the other day. Literally just got this off the trailer and rolled it straight back. Put it on some wheel dollies just to get it situated. But here she is. It's a, you know, 35 3-window coupe, all original as far as I know. The car has been apart. What seems to be, this car was gray at one point, I want to say. It was gray or some kind of silver. Not sure if that's the original color. I'm researching that right now. But, you know, it could have very well been a gray car with red wheels from the factory, because that's how they did it. But whoever took this apart and put it back together, you know, they sprayed it in black primer to kind of clean it up and get it going down the road. And hopefully, yeah, we can interview Jamie and get his take on this car and some of him and his dad's history of this car. But yeah, like I said, it's 100% solid. Like, I don't think it needs any rust repair at all. If not, maybe two little spots. It's got some dings and dents, but nothing crazy. You can see a little one here, a couple little waves up here, but nothing too major. But solid as a whistle, as they say, right? It is not a rumble seat. Based on what I've been researching the last couple days, I'm pretty sure it is a deluxe for a couple different reasons. One of them being it has a double tail light, as you can see here, double tail light. And I'm learning as well that it also had a double wiper on top of the roof, where the standard just had one. And it's got two horns as well, which is a sign of a deluxe. So yeah, I'm learning. I'm you know, trying to get the history on this. I got some more things to research here. I'm quickly learning. But here she is. One thing is, this car has no drivetrain, has no motor or trans, but that's okay. Most likely, I'm gonna put a you know, some kind of V8 in here. Debating which way I'm gonna be doing that, but yeah, here's the. Hopefully you can see all the garnish moldings here. Seat looks great. I just love these cars. The back window is a roll down window, which is awesome. Dash, just love the trim. Only thing missing is a couple floorboards that were wooden back in the day, so I gotta locate those, and I'll give you a peek of the trunk area. But even the trunk and the whole sail panel here is just solid all in here. He even gave me an extra fender. So as of right now, I don't know what the build plans are, but you know, I definitely want to, you know, kind of build a gentleman's hot rod, traditional style. Definitely will be lowering it. Definitely gonna be putting solid steel wheels on here. Probably some kind of black, gloss black, solid steel wheels, kind of like a 40 Ford style. And I'm gonna, you know, do a couple settle changes. Definitely taking the horns off. I absolutely love 36 headlight lenses because they've got a lot more concave. So I will be putting 36 lenses in here. I know some people don't like, you know, mix matching parts, but like I said, this is my vision and kind of creating the artistic expression that I would have done, you know, if I had a choice during that time period. And mix matching parts to making it personal. And the real cool thing is these windshields are a Safari windshield, which is a crank out windshield, which is awesome. One of my favorite things about these cars, these things crank out and everything works really good. Absolutely love that. So, anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you follow all the way through, I appreciate that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed some of the history and, you know, the cool story behind this project and what it means to me. You know, feel free to subscribe to the channel and follow along as I post new videos. I also do some build projects in the shop here on my channel. I got some customer stuff going on here and all kinds of cool projects and that'll work. What do you guys think? Good. You like your new hot rod? What? You like your new hot rod? Yeah. You gonna drive it someday, Hudson? Yeah. You excited?
My birthday girl.
Word what?
My birthday.
Your birthday? Maybe when you're 16. How's that?
I'm 1 on 28.